So since Tim Cook saw Apple's impending doom of hardware becoming increasingly difficult to improve and make better every year, he's tried his best to pivot Apple as to more of a services company to please shareholders, but also just to have more secure and reliable revenue over time. So how has Apple's new services under the Tim Cook realm done, and did he achieve his goal of Apple becoming more dependent on service revenue? Let's begin. So we've all heard about the typical Apple services like iCloud, AppleCare, and Apple Music's been around for a while. Those have all done pretty dang well, I'm fairly sure, with Apple Music market share still growing a lot, them beating out Spotify with the amount of lossless playback available on the platform, as well as paying artists quite a bit better than Spotify does, so that wins over a ton of people. And of course, Apple sells an insane amount of hardware every single year, so that comes with a lot of AppleCare packages that people will either pay monthly or upfront for. And iCloud is almost a necessity membership for most people these days. It's near impossible with ever-increasing file sizes to live with only 5 gigabytes of iCloud storage. So now almost everybody has either $1 or $3 or $10 a month just going towards their iCloud services. So those are kind of like consistent and fairly reliable forms of income for Apple. But just a couple years ago, they introduced a bunch of new packages like TV Plus and Arcade and News Plus. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is because Apple TV Plus just made history as being the first subscription service that debuted a movie which won an Academy Award for Best Picture. This has never happened before, and it's definitely a big shift given, streaming services aren't exactly new, and the Academy has definitely kind of neglected trying to give awards to movies that are on streaming services, because they kind of combat a lot with the major studios. Now Apple was finally able to win over that award. Now, awards at the end of the day don't really mean that much. It's still just kind of a few people in the Actors Guild voted on this particular film, and it's kind of predictable for you to know which movies are Oscar bait because they kind of follow the same trends and follow the same topics in media. But now that Apple has kind of won over the hearts of the Academy, it's definitely going to get a lot more eyes on Apple TV Plus, and most study groups and sample sizes are discovering a slow and steady rise with Apple TV Plus market share, getting closer and closer to HBO Max. Now that comparison is a little biased if you consider HBO Max is like $15 a month and TV Plus is still $5. But Apple has clearly had a huge amount of success with Ted Lasso and a lot of those Oscar nominated and Oscar winning titles over on Apple TV Plus now. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I'm kind of admitting here I was a bit wrong on this. I thought Apple going completely all out with only original content and not really buying out previous movies or shows from decades prior on their service, I thought that was a big mistake. And Disney Plus and Netflix are still very much in the lead because they have far larger back catalogs of content to choose from. But I'm starting to see Apple's mindset of making all of their content exclusive and original to just their service as paying off a little bit in the long run, because now they're seeing some growth and they're definitely getting some industry attention with these Oscar grabs, and that's going to continue to stand out, especially I think with their lower starting price, because Disney Plus and Netflix and everybody's basically raising prices now, whereas Apple, even against inflation, which is a real thing, is keeping TV Plus at $5 a month, at least for now. So that implies they don't really care too much about how much profitability they're getting from this service, but they're encouraging more market share, and they're trying to get people kind of overwhelmed with, oh my god, all these streaming services are so expensive, but oh, hey, the Apple one's only $5 a month. Everybody else is way more expensive than that, and there seems to be some pretty decent quality shows on here, and an ever-growing catalog of them that because Apple owns them, they never have to get rid of them, whereas Netflix had to pay big bucks to keep as many old movies and shows on there, and now they're losing all of those to Peacock and to Disney, and Apple doesn't have to worry about that. So in the long run, this seems to have been a smarter move for Apple, but that's just TV Plus, which I will admit I'm kind of wrong on because I thought it would be a big flop. Where I'm less wrong is with services like Fitness Plus, News Plus, or Apple Arcade. Apple doesn't disclose the official numbers on these services, so we'll never know for sure how well they're doing, but Apple News Plus has had several major news outlets come off the platform, and all they seem to do with News Plus these days is try to boost more free trials. Like, please sign up. They're not really offering any new journalist sites coming on the platform, and they don't seem to be interested in raising prices against inflation or anything, so that proves that once again, they're still just trying to tackle market share, and because so many major major news sites have left, I don't think it's doing particularly well, and especially with how much they push free trials on me after using free trials and expiring them and being less and less interested in the platform. They even push it through the Stocks app these days. I don't think that particular service is doing great for them. I know there's some diehard Apple One users watching these videos, but outside of the tech sphere, I don't think News Plus is performing very well. Also, Apple had to shift a lot with Apple Arcade because at first when they debuted it, they were kind of trying to do the TV Plus method of just having all original content and trying to come up with these exclusive games that you really couldn't play elsewhere, and they've clearly shifted on that trend a lot. Now most of the best played games on Apple Arcade are nostalgia. It's like Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja and Alto's Odyssey, and it's just making those old games now available part of the subscription with no ads and in-app purchases, of course. So what's interesting is even though it's by Apple and it's still $5 a month, it's almost a completely different approach to content of like trying to bank on nostalgia, and now they're allowing a lot of Apple Arcade games available on other platforms, and developers are able to sell them elsewhere, and it sounds like they're having a lot more success with older titles and non-original content that just doesn't have in-app purchases or ads, and that's the biggest selling point. I would be far interested in a lot more of those games if I could buy them separately. I'm not willing to pay $5 a month for it, but considering they're banking a lot on nostalgia, I'm not really sure how that one's doing in particular. I'm guessing not quite as good. Kind of similar story with Apple Fitness Plus. They've been very quiet since announcing it, and they're still pushing very, very big trials on Apple Watch purchases and letting people try to, hey, just test it out for a few months, see how you like it. But where there is some development finally going on is the Apple Card. It's been mostly quiet as of lately, but Apple recently purchased this UK banking startup that specializes in building up credit and getting lower interest rates on loans and that kind of thing. And Apple just bought this company, and people are trying to figure out why exactly they would be interested in this startup. Most people are pointing it back to an Apple Card international launch of some kind that might be very, very useful with this startup software and technology. So I've been asking for that for years. I want the Apple Card to come to more countries. It's just a legal battle, and the great cashback offers probably won't work overseas, but still, I'm hoping to see some more success with the Apple Card because I'm guessing they're not seeing too much profitability with it. Otherwise, they would have introduced more tiers of the Apple Card by now that cost money but offer better perks, just like most credit card companies offer. It's been 3 years and they still haven't offered that, so I'm predicting that because the software is so good at telling you to pay the card off and to avoid interest payments, Apple's probably not making that much off interest payments in the first place. So what Apple services do you think are overall doing fairly well? I think that Apple might have to position more of their hardware towards monthly subscriptions to have more recurring revenue over time, because they're probably not getting enough from their current lineup of services. And of course, they want to secure their future and have more consistent revenue over time instead of just big iPhone spike in sales every September and then it dies out for the rest of the year. So let me know which ones you think are underrated or underappreciated, what Apple services you would like to see in the future. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.